WHMIS 2015, Part 2. The first part of the WHMIS 2015 system is classification. Products are classified using a complex system based on data obtained from tests, publications, observations, and experiences. Standards and criteria implemented to classify physical hazards are based on the United Nations Dangerous Goods System. Classification of health and environmental hazards uses a layered approach that is dependent on information available for the mixture and/or the component products. All hazardous products are classified into groups, classes, and categories. There are 3 subcategories in hazard groups: physical, health, and environmental. The physical group is based on the physical or chemical properties of the product: flammability, reactivity, and corrosivity to metals. The health group is based on ability of the product to cause a health effect: eye irritation, respiratory sensitization, which is allergy or breathing difficulties, and carcinogenicity, which may cause cancer. The environmental group is defined by the WHMIS, but presently not mandatory in Canada. Criteria for classifying chemicals have been developed for the following environmental hazard classes: hazardous to the aquatic environment, acute and chronic, and hazardous to the ozone layer. Each hazard group includes hazard classes that have unique hazard properties. It is not unusual for a hazardous product to belong to more than one hazard group. Diesel fuel has physical, health, and environmental hazards. There are 3 types of hazard classes: physical, health, and environmental. In the physical class, there are 19 subclasses. The WHMIS also defines an explosive class, however, WHMIS 2015 does not currently include this. The 19 physical classes include corrosive to metals, such as hydrochloric acid, combustible dusts, such as sawdust, flammable gases, such as propane, flammable aerosols, like hairspray in an aerosol can, flammable liquids, gasoline, flammable solids, household matches, gases under pressure, propane, oxidizing gases, oxygen or chlorine, oxidizing liquids, fluorine, oxidizing solids, bromine, organic peroxides, pyrophoric liquids, pyrophoric solids, and pyrophoric gases. These can ignite immediately with exposure to air. Physical hazards not otherwise classified. This does not include explosion, which is covered under different legislation in Canada. Self-reactive substances and mixtures. These are thermally unstable liquid or solid substances or mixtures liable to undergo a strongly exothermic decomposition even without the participation of oxygen. Self-heating substances and mixtures. This is a solid or a liquid chemical other than a pyrophoric substance which by reaction with air and without energy supply is liable to self-heat over long periods of time, hours or days. Substances and mixtures which, in contact with water, emit a flammable gas. Simple asphyxiates. These are inert gases or vapors that displace oxygen from air when in high concentrations. In the health class, there are 12 subclasses. Acute toxicity. Effects take place after a single exposure or after a short series of exposures within 24 hours. Aspiration hazard. Entry of a liquid or solid chemical directly through the oral or nasal cavity or indirectly through vomiting into the trachea and lower respiratory system. Biohazardous infectious, bacteria, viruses, fungi, or parasites. Carcinogenicity, it causes cancer. Germ cell mutagenicity, can cause mutations to the germ cells of humans. Health hazards not otherwise specified. Respiratory or skin sensitization, breathing trouble or skin reaction. Reproductive toxicity, it can affect fertility of people exposed, including miscarriages. Serious eye damage or eye irritation. Skin corrosion or irritation. Specific target organ toxicity, single exposure. And specific target organ toxicity, repeated exposure. In the environmental class, there are 2 subclasses that are defined by WHMIS but not yet mandatory in Canada: hazardous to the aquatic environment and hazardous to the ozone layer. Hazard categories tell you how hazardous the product is. Each hazard class contains at least 1 category. The hazard categories are assigned a number from 1 to 5. The lower the number, the more severe the hazard. For example, 1 is more severe than 5. In some cases, categories may be further classified into subcategories. Subcategories are identified with a number and a letter. For example, 1A. 1A is more severe than 1B. Category A would be based on human evidence and data. Some hazard classes have only one category, others may have more. Please have a look on page 12 in your worksite booklet and the example of ultra-low sulfur diesel, fuel number 2. This demonstrates groups, classes, and categories. This is also a product that we use frequently. There are 5 questions relating to the classification of hazardous products on page 14 of your worksite booklet. Once complete, please continue on with WHMIS 2015, Part 3.